All right, how's everybody doing? This is the Comic Samurai. I want to welcome you to my next video. And tonight we're going to be continuing our journey down the road to Comic Bowl 2. We started out with 90 of my favorite comic books and whittled it down to 12 finalists. And tonight we're going to take a closer look at each of those in the tail of the tape. So let's go ahead and jump right in. First up, we got this Daredevil number 146 from 1977, and it features a beautiful cover done by Gil Kane. Now, this is one of the oldest comics that's going to be in the competition, but it's one of my favorites. The chances are good on this one. It's got such a story to tell. I love it. The lighting. What's interesting is that you get 3 different perspectives in the background of this main image. So the cameras are behind Daredevil, showing who's holding the gun on him, and it's Bullseye. There's not a bigger rivalry in all of the Marvel Universe than between those two. I'm anxious to see how this one does. Next up, we got the Incredible Hulk number 345 from 1988. And this one features a beautiful Todd McFarlane cover. It's very reminiscent for me of The Dark Knight Returns number 2, done by Frank Miller, where Batman's image is taking up the whole space of the cover. But on this one, you've got the Grey Hulk, Joe Fixit, taking up the entire area. Look at how he's interacting with the trade dress there. I love this one. The purples on this one are applied so well. But it's the visage of the Hulk that really gets me. That little bit of humor that McFarlane put on the cover here with the Incredible laying on the ground there. I like this one, and with a record of 3-0, I'm anxious to see how it does. Next up, we got Iron Fist number 15. Now, we're taking a look at these 12 finalists in alphabetical order. This is another one from 1977 that sports a beautiful Dave Cockrum cover here. I love Iron Fist battling the new X-Men there. Now, this was 77, remember, so this was an early appearance of those heroes. So early that it's the only cover appearance that I know of from this era that features Wolverine in that Fang costume. And everybody knows Wolverine's my favorite character, so to see him in a costume that only has one cover appearance is something special. And this comic book definitely gets extra points for that. Now, this one was one of the 2 wild card comics that are still continuing in the competition. That means they had one loss and battled all the way through the wild card competition to make it where it's at. And it's very deserved of its place in Comic Bowl 2. Next up, we got Iron Man number 100. And the Centennial issue was done by Jim Starlin. Now, it's weird to see him on the cover. I assumed it was Bob Layton. But Jim Starlin, with all of his cosmic sensibilities, did a great image of old Shellhead on the cover here. I love the idea of Iron Man breaking an iron girder above his head. Something about the symmetry on this one and that grandeur of having the issue number 100 scores bonus points for me, and I'm very much looking forward to see how that one does. Next up, we got Iron Man number 152, another Iron Man title in the competition. It's the only title that had 2 entries. But I love this one that introduced the stealth armor, and this one is a Bob Layton image there. And it also sports a photograph background, and I love that when it's done right. Now, this comic is from 1981, and it represents that decade very well. And although this one features the stealth armor, I have a feeling that this comic's going to make a lot of noise in the competition. Next up, we got Moon Knight number 56, featuring that beautiful Stephen Platt art. Now, this one defeated The Dark Knight Returns number 1, that beautiful, iconic Frank Miller image. So that really put some bonus points in its corner. But the coloring on this one and the perspective is what got me. Look at how you can see all the buildings in a 360 view around the central figure there, and the moon above him, just as it should be in a Moon Knight cover. Stephen Platt was a superstar unlike any other, and his light shines so bright. I love this cover, and I'm anxious to see how this one does in the competition. Next up, we got The Shadow, number 1 from 1973. There's a lot of 70s comics in this competition, but this one features a cover done by Mike Kaluta. And in my opinion, this is the most underrated cover in the entire competition. I love that image of the Shadow there, holding his 2 pistols with that great perspective of the railroad tracks there. I love this one. It doesn't get nearly enough attention, which is strange because he's such a pulp hero that really set the standard for all other comics to come. This really is an underdog in the competition. It hasn't suffered any losses yet, and let's see if it can continue that winning streak. Next up we got Shotgun Mary #1, put out by Antarctic Press. And this is one of the few small press comics independents that made it to the Comic Bowl. This one features a cover done by Esad Ribic. And this isn't the only one of his that made an appearance in the Comic Bowl. But this one's a beautiful cover that features my favorite blue wash in the background there. I love that the shotgun shells on her belt are made into an accessory, so it plays into her name. Everything works on the cover for this one, from her sunglasses to her hair to her body language. It just speaks volumes to the power of this comic book. Next up we got Spectacular Spider-Man #120 from 1986. And this one features one of those Marvel 25th anniversary covers where they did the border there and gave an artist a chance to feature his work in a primary primetime slot on the cover. And Mark Beecham took the opportunity to feature a halvesy image of Peter Parker and Spider-Man in his black costume. And I love the fact that they also did a halvesy in the thumbnail there. You got a black costume there and there. 4 different images of Spider-Man on the cover of this comic book. Alright, I've got to do it. On a halvesy cover, you get 2 different images for the price of 1. And there's Spider-Man in his black costume there. And there's Peter Parker in his civvies. I love that. It's 2 images for the price of 1. And I love seeing how a costume fits on a superhero. Sometimes it's like, how is his sideburns or his facial hair covered? But in this one, you get to see how that black costume, that symbiote, fits on Peter Parker. That sunburst in the background. This is a beautiful image, and it's my favorite of the Marvel 25th anniversary covers. Next up, we got Swamp Thing #9 from 1974. Look at the colors on this one. I know that if we went just by colors, this one would win hands down. I love the image of the Swamp Thing rising out of the water there with that beautiful wash in the background there, the trade dress. Look at how even the circular image of the DC logo and the 20-cent price tag balance each other out. This is a perfect example of a classic cover done how I like it, and I'm anxious to see how that 1974 comic does. Next up we got Wolverine #2, and this is the other cover done by that Esad Ribic. I love his work. This one is the most humorous cover I have ever seen. It's my all-time favorite funny comic book cover. That image of Wolverine and that bullet trail going across him, the expression on his face and the body language, him holding that book with the brewski at his feet. Nothing speaks to me like humor in a comic book, and this one gets so many bonus points just because of that. But on top of everything, that Ribic did such a great image here. The details on it, just his craft is so well. I'm anxious to see how this one does in Comic Bowl 2. The last contestant tonight is also the newest one. It's Zatanna #2 that came out in 2005. And it sports a beautiful image done by Ryan Sook. And I am just such a fan of this one. Not only are the colors magical with that bright, blazing blue eye there, but her black fingernail polish, her black lipstick, that goth look with the top hat, and it's so magical, that sense of tension that you get because one eye is disguised. You don't know exactly what her expression is, but what an enticing cover. It's full of mystery and magic, and isn't that fitting? Well, those are our 12 contestants. I am so anxious to see how every one of them does in Comic Bowl 2. The stakes are higher, and I don't think we could have chosen better comics for the competition. Join me in my grand finale where we crown the champion and award it that Steranko trophy. Thanks for joining me, and have a great night.